Hey there, and welcome back to episode 2 of the SadFan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made us sad from the previous week. We are your hosts, Fry, Wes, and our wonderful producer, Taylor.
Hello.
And as always, we're going to start with what made us sad? Taylor, why don't you go ahead?
The Rangers. Oh, tear. My poor New York Rangers. They did not make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, unfortunately, but they worked really hard and they made it very far. Although I'm really sad, I'm going to say selfishly, I'm a little happy though, because had they won and gone to the finals, my family who is visiting this week would probably be postponing their trip to stay in New York and watch the games.
It was rough. Yeah, I don't know how you go up 2-0 and then blow 4 games in a row. Just bop, 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 and then done. You're out.
Yes.
We'll give them a participation ribbon for making it this far.
I mean, it is 2022.
Yeah.
Next year. It's fine.
That's what I always say.
It's going to be okay.
Isn't that what every sad fan says? Next year.
Hope is a hell of a drug, and that's what sports provides us. So now that we're into the Stanley Cup Finals, since you brought it up, Taylor, who's going to win? Is it going to be the team that eliminated your beloved Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, or is it going to be a very dominant Colorado Avalanche?
Is not going to be the Lightning, and that's for no statistical good reasoning. It's just I don't like them because they knocked us out.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Not Lightning is Taylor's only prediction.
South Park is going to win.
That's fair. All right, and Wes.
I'm definitely going for the Avalanche.
Okay.
No real reason. I'm tired of seeing teams win 3 straight, just like the Warriors. I'm going for the Avalanche, even though historically they've been like before the Kraken came to Seattle. I was a Red Wings fan, and so we had a lot of dust ups with the Avalanche. But
we call that foreshadowing, kids.
Yeah.
And the thing that I notice is
I'm still going for the Avalanche.
The thing that I notice when teams win like a bunch of championships in a row, their fan base will forever harp on like that few years of winning, no matter how far in the future it is at that point. It's just like the New York Islanders. Anytime you talk to an Islanders fan, they always have to mention, "Oh, dynasty, we won a dynasty." And when was that? The 80s? The mid 80s?
Cowboy fans.
Most of the time, it's people that weren't born, right? It's people that weren't even born when they did it.
Looking at you, Cowboy fans.
I just think it's funny.
Oh my gosh, right? Why don't you go in this new millennia? How about that, Cowboys? So I will say I'll make mine quick because we really beat this dead horse. Oh, sorry. I can't say beat this dead horse anymore because that German coach punched his horse in the Olympics. But I know we crushed this topic. Deshaun Watson, after we got off the air last week, he decided to get a 24th suit. And if you get a chance and you want to be really, really horrified, read the young lady's statement when she took him to court, because it is terrifying, and he is allegedly, in my opinion, absolutely damn guilty.
Yeah, I don't think we have to harp on our feelings about him anymore, but I think we should definitely keep everyone updated on what's happening with this story.
Absolutely.
Another one.
Keep him in the
Another one.
Yeah, like, come on. And I think the news was that the Texans helped him with 66 total NDAs. Like, get the hell out of here already.
The DJ Khaled of lawsuits.
He is the DJ Khaled of lawsuits. And we knew who that when that boy was spinning records.
Oh, yeah.
My prediction for the NHL Finals is I'm calling the three-peat. I'm going to call the three-peat right now. The Lightning's goalie is absolutely insane. And once he turned it on, the Rangers never stood a chance. And I think it's going to be the same for the Avalanche. So I'm taking Vasilevsky and the Lightning for a three-peat. We're going to have a lot of Tampa fans being like the Patriot fans, like, yo, we got Tommy. Yo, Tommy. All right, Wes, what made you sad?
For me, it's the Celtics going down 2-3 in the NBA Finals. They had every chance to go up 3-1. They blew it. They kept spamming garbage threes at the end of the fourth quarter in Game 4. And then Game 5, last night, Steph Curry went 0 for 9 on threes. The first time I think he's been shut out on three-pointers in I don't know how long. But it was the perfect time for the Celtics to catch a dub, and they couldn't do it. And now they're going back down 3-2, and that's what makes me sad.
Someone's a hater.
He sucks.
Obviously, I did
Can't even
not
make a
watch
three.
this. Obviously, I didn't watch this basketball game. I'm not big on basketball, but he did. The Warriors played so bad and Steph Curry played so bad that it was mentioned on the news this morning. Not even necessarily in like the sports segment.
Yeah, that's what makes me sad. They played so bad, but the Celtics couldn't even win.
There is a ridiculous takeaway from this game, though. Here's the thing: anyone that's been watching these finals knows, outside of last night, Steph Curry's been ridiculous. Or this morning for me, for the audience that doesn't know, I'm actually in England now, so early this morning for me. Uh, Steph Curry played a terrible game, and I'm willing to admit that. But I'm not here for all this. Andrew Wiggins is the Finals MVP. Andrew Wiggins is look what he's doing on defense to Tatum. Tatum, get the hell out of here. Tatum's defending himself. He's got the yips. He's terrible at the rim right now. He can't hit a three. Jaylen Brown is carrying his team, and Smart,
Tatum's
D-boy my
young.
ass.
Tatum's young.
He is young, but I don't want to hear this isn't LeBron James and Andre Iguodala, okay? We're not going to give him the MVP trophy just because he can guard somebody. That's ridiculous. So one of my biggest things, though, is with this team, Bob Myers and Lacob said that they were light years ahead of everyone with what they're doing, right? And I understand the Warriors are small, and they're significantly smaller than the Celtics, right? When we look at the average size of the teams. But the player that they drafted to fix that height issue isn't even on the court in Wiseman. And when you're light years ahead of your competition, you draft the best player available. And instead of taking LaMelo Ball, who I think we would all agree in that draft is the best player, other than Taylor is like, who the hell is LaMelo
No,
Ball?
I
You
know
talking
who
about
that one
Lonzo?
is. Thanks, SNL. I know who he is, and actually, I
Everyone
think
knows the balls.
that's what I was gonna say. Is the reason that I feel this team probably didn't pick him is this like kind of notion behind this player where his family, they all think they're amazing and great. They come with a lot of, publicity, not necessarily in the best way sometimes. So there's like a lot of scrutiny surrounding this person, not about necessarily his playing ability. And that alone kind of subconsciously puts feelings in people's heads about who do I want to work with? Who do I want on my team representing me kind of thing.
They're like the bad partner you choose to take out on a date. They got excess baggage.
They're the Kardashians of the NBA.
Right.
They
That's kind
really
of
are
the
the
point.
That's perfect.
That's exactly how I would kind of describe it. I don't watch basketball. I don't know players, but I know who that is simply because of their, social media presence, their presence in pop culture. They make fun of the Ball family all the time on SNL. Keenan plays
Oh
LaMelo
yeah.
Ball, his dad. Um, so
LeVar?
yes, so he does come with like these preconceived notions about, oh, people just like him because he's famous, because he is on social media, because he has deals here, rather than like maybe he is actually a good player. I think that might get overshadowed a little bit.
You know what, Taylor? You brought something to my attention, Wes. Wes, how do we feel about knowing these people's dads? Because I'm tired of knowing who these people's dads are.
I really don't want
care
to
who
know their
nobody-
parents. I don't. Like
But
what?
why?
It's because they're just feeding off of their children.
They're vampires sucking the blood of their children.
Because it's the whole dance mom, stage mom conundrum where it's
man.
like you
Oh,
have
yeah.
really talented children, like let them be really talented and do their thing rather than like it looks like you trying to control their whole situation. Like the Kris Jenner momager situation,
I totally get it. I that was just an aside, but I don't know what's going on with our society today where it's like, oh, their kids are really great. Let's hear about the whole family.
I think what we're really
No.
saying is that this is Kris Jenner's fault.
Yes, it is all Kris Jenner's
Thanks a
fault.
lot.
And we we may get to that in a bit. But Wes, so you said you had something for me on because you and I were talking about this offline and how I felt. that I would have taken LaMelo. And I've stood by that from day one. I said LaMelo was the best player in that draft class, even better than Anthony Edwards. Now people will fight me on Anthony Edwards, but guess what? Hindsight is 2020.
Well,
LaMelo Ball. Wow. LaMelo Ball has been better than Anthony Edwards over a longer period of time, whereas Anthony Edwards really had his coming out party this year.
let me take you back some years. As a Blazers fan, I know a little something about drafting injury-prone centers. When we drafted Greg Oden over Kevin Durant, and that blew up in our faces. Kevin Durant is still playing, and Greg Oden hasn't played in what, like 10 years? The best thing we got out of that was leaked nudes.
Jesus.
I'd ask, but then people will start Googling.
Yes, please don't Google that unless you want to. All right. That's our disclaimer at the SadFan. Don't do it unless you want to. Then, go crazy, kids, but don't tell them you learned it here.
Yeah, obviously in hindsight, it was a terrible draft, and that makes me sad.
That wasn't the first time that happened to the Blazers, was it?
No. Definitely not.
I don't know. I think last time it might have been like the greatest player ever, but who knows? We can't remember that far back. It was before we were
I think
born.
his name was like Michael something. I don't know.
I think it was Michael Jazzin. Michael Jazzin, if I remember correctly.
I think he like owns an NBA team now, a golf course or something. I don't know.
He should be the logo. Let's just say that. They should have been the logo. But that being said, I would love to use this thing that I've been talking about for a long time called the slap card. And Wes is overhearing about this, but I know Wes would use it if he had one. And the way the slap card works is it's the purge, but with slapping. Okay? Everybody gets a slap card a month. Now, no one can retaliate against you if you use that slap card, okay? So you got to pull out that slap card, and you know what? You've earned this. You're about to get slapped today, all right? And I would say, if I have to hear Bob Myers say he made the right choice on Wiseman again, I'm just going to walk up to in the press conference. I'm going to go, all right, Myers, that's it. Here it is. Here's the slap card. Lacob, it's your fault for firing him, but you're not or for hiring him, pardon me, but you're not getting it. It's on you, Bob Myers, and I'm just going to slap him. And you know what? The only way he can retaliate, because I used my slap card, is if he has a slap card too. And I guarantee you he has bigger fish to fry than Fry. All right, Wes, who would you use your slap card on if this scenario existed in real life?
Well, aside from you,
every month.
Yeah,
every month, Fry.
I'm going with Jack Del Rio. I'm slapping the shit out of him.
Well,
and for the audience that doesn't know what we're talking about here, why?
Let's see. He called the January 6th riots at the Capitol a dust-up. So
where there was an insurrection and police officers were brutally murdered.
Yeah, and there was a lady shot inside the Capitol.
What is the definition of a dust-up? This is a
Google
new term
says.
to me, because it just sounds like something.
Wild
It just sounds like
It's
something
a
you
fight or a
made
quarrel.
up to avoid having to call it what it actually was.
It was a little
We
quarrel.
have to pause for a second, Taylor, because Wes called a quarrel a quirrel, like it's a squirrel. Like, look at that little squirrel.
No, like the professor from Harry Potter.
Look at his face. Look at how mad he is.
It's the same thing.
He's
Quarrel,
like,
quarrel, same fucking thing. Suck my balls.
He's like, I build airplanes. You suck.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
All right, so it's a quarrel, Wes.
It just sounds like a term that he made up to avoid having to call it what it actually is.
Yeah, and I mean that's really telling the audience all they need to know. Like, this is truly what you feel. This is truly what you think, right, Wes?
Yeah, I mean the guy's an idiot. It's
like
opinion.
that. It's like the episode of Community where they inadvertently start a race riot, but the dean of the college is being interviewed for a magazine at the time, and he's getting news about the riot that's happening outside, and he's like, "Let's call it a kerfuffle," to avoid having to call it what it is. And this is the same thing.
No.
It's
the exact same thing. But Taylor, do you know why he even said it? Like, what this was in relation to? What he was referencing when he called the January 6th insurrection a dust-up?
I don't, and I know I'm going to be really sad when I ask.
He was using it in reference to the George Floyd protests, which were largely peaceful. and he said, I saw a lot of nice people marching on the Capitol, and I didn't see any buildings on fire. I didn't see them set it. And I'm just like, dude, we were watching different television then. Because I definitely saw things on fire, like, our flag.
That's because he
I,
was watching the
I,
television channel that was showing our president at the time, or soon to be ex-president at the time,
no, he
telling
was
people that
ex-president.
he
He
loves
was. He was
them
voted
and
out at
that
that
they
point.
did great.
As if
It's well,
As if the
go ahead, Wes.
Washington football team, I'm calling them the Washington football team, as if they need any more like controversy with like everything going on with Dan Snyder. I mean, that team is just a giant screw up. They need new ownership, and
Badly.
yeah, badly. It's terrible. They're
And a new
competing with the
stadium.
Jaguars for the worst team.
Well, let's not forget their stadium almost crushed Jalen Hurts last
Oh
year.
yeah,
Remember that?
yeah.
Like, what is going
There's
on
like
there?
5 fans
What are
that
we
fell on
doing?
top of them. It was terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a whole thing. But the fact that he said I didn't see any buildings get broken, and I'm like, did you not see the state capitol? When like, how do you think they got in? Like magic? They David Copperfielded their asses into the building? No, they broke the window
Well, half the
into the
cops let them
building.
in.
Yeah, so absolutely, Wes. I agree with you. I don't want to be. I don't want to alienate anyone, but anyone with half a brain saw what happened, and we could leave it there. All right. So yes, I'm with you. That's a perfect card, or a perfect person, pardon me, to use your slap card on, because that's utterly ridiculous. Comparing a travesty for our nation to peaceful protests is legitimately ridiculous. Taylor, who do you want
Slap
to
card.
slap?
Ooh, I'm not really an advocate for assault. Um,
It's free
so
Chris
assault.
Rock.
It's legal assault.
it seems like, yeah, Chris Rock might be the safe answer for everybody at this
He's
point.
not pressing charges.
Oh man. But I don't know. I don't really have anyone in particular at the moment. I'm gonna reserve it.
Nothing grinds your gears.
She's
I'm trying
storing
to
them
keep
up.
it
She's saving them. She's got
trying
multiple
to-
slap cards saved up.
That's really what it is.
At
I'm
the end of the
saving up
year,
for a
someone's ass getting
super
slapped
slap.
12 times.
Yeah, it's a super slap.
Super slap. One super slap. And you're going to do it with all 12 cards in your hand just for impact.
Exactly, at the same time. Not even
she's gonna
like
call in a celebrity slapper. She's gonna have one of those giant Russian dudes that competes in the
The
YouTube slap
celebrity
contest.
slapper.
She's gonna have that one giant Russian guy who competes in the slap contest just come and bam.
Welcome to the celebrity slapper.
I'll keep it in my pocket
All
and
right,
I'll
well,
let you guys know.
speaking of slaps, we had a great UFC card this weekend as well. Wes knows this. Taylor, you're just finding this out. One of my favorite fighters of all time retired. Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She has left. She has put her gloves in the center of the octagon and walked away. It made me incredibly sad to see how she went out with a spinning back fist from Wei Li. And yeah, face down on the canvas was the way she's going to be remembered in her last fight. And she was probably one of the greatest champions we've ever seen. Wes, what do you think?
Well, I think everyone's gonna remember her for Whaley, the first fight. I mean, that was probably the greatest women's MMA fight, if not one of the greatest MMA fights I've ever seen. I mean, it was just nonstop, like rock'em sock'em robots between those two for like 25 minutes, and it was just amazing.
It really was. And we were all tuning in to watch Israel Adesanya against Yoel Romero on that card,
And that was a snooze
right?
fest.
And it was we totally forgot. Like, everybody's yelling at Rose Namajunas and Carlos, we're the most boring fight ever. I'm like, did you guys forget what we watched in Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero, where they basically like danced with each other for like 5 whole rounds and never threw a punch? Like, the whole fight, no punches. At least Rose Namajunas and Carlos Esparza were punching air. Okay, but
So, like, what are
it's
those
better
two
than nothing.
guys? What are their martial arts specialties, though?
So Israel Adesanya was, I believe, a K1 kickboxer for a lot of for many years, and he's Muay
Kickboxing
Thai.
champ.
Oh,
Wes will
okay.
correct me if I'm wrong. And Yoel Romero is a champion wrestler out of Cuba, but he's really a counter striker in mixed martial arts. He doesn't go right in and just
Well, no,
throw
that's what I
blows.
was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say. I was gonna say that like a lot of certain martial arts styles are very like defensive, you want to get on the ground, kind of like rolling around type of thing. So that makes sense for a wrestler. I'm
Mhm.
surprised that the other guy who's trained in Muay Thai and kickboxing didn't just like go for it, because I feel like those guys come out charging.
Well, he's the champ, so I feel like he was just playing defensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he didn't want to get knocked out
Yeah.
too. Because Yoel does have power. But Taylor, you said something very interesting. And as being somebody that doesn't keep up with UFC quite like me, and uh, unfortunately I'm addicted. I watch pretty much every card that I can. Uh, Styles make the fights is a very famous saying in mixed martial arts, and it's very true. If you have two styles that just don't work well together, you get an incredibly boring fight. Or if you get two wrestlers, like they're just gonna lay on each other forever the whole fight. And then when a punch gets thrown, you're like, thank goodness, finally.
What was that fight that we were watching the other day from one of the early UFC fights? Was it Ken Shamrock versus Hoist Gracie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Ken Shamrock, Hoist
and
Gracie
Hoist Gracie just laid on him the entire time. It was one of the most
for
boring
an
fights
hour,
ever. Yeah, it was so dull.
and it was the specialty match on that card. It was the
Yeah,
grudge match, and yeah, it was hard to watch.
yeah. Even though they're two of the greatest, it was just so boring.
It's a shame, but yeah, Taylor, you nailed it. Styles make the fights, and yeah, these were definitely like Wes said. Izzy was just trying to not get knocked out, just playing defense, but he's playing defense against somebody that's also a counter striker. So you've got two people waiting to counter punches that never came because no one threw a punch.
Ugh, that's sad.
But you know what? There's already talk about Israel Adesanya now fighting the new light heavyweight champion. Who's that, Wes? Who's the new light heavyweight champion?
Yuri Prohaska.
And you
So
just
Same
made
fight.
him say that because you don't know how to
so
pronounce it.
Adesanya, yeah. So Adesanya lost to, was it Jan
Yeah,
Blachowicz?
Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Blachowicz.
Blachowicz.
Yeah. See, at least you know his name. Yeah, and he lost, but I thought he would be done going into light heavyweight. So we'll see.
They're already talking about it, and it's just because stylistically that fight looks like it could be very exciting, right? Yuri just goes forward and goes forward and goes, and you saw it in the Glover Teixeira fight for the title to the extent where myself included, the judges also thought if that fight had just lasted 45 more seconds, Glover's still the champion of the light heavyweight division, right?
Yeah,
Because he was
he was down.
mauling
He
him.
was down on the card.
Yeah. And there was a couple times where I'm yelling at my TV, keep it on the feet, Glover. Keep it on the feet. You're going to knock him out. And he kept trying to take him down. Like that muscle memory was just like, take him down, take him down,
Yeah.
take him. And we're all just like, no, you're going to knock him out. And then he got with a submission, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, was like the odds were like 2,600, 2,600 to 1. Like
Oh, I didn't
that
see
he
the
would get a
odds.
submission
I didn't see the
in the
odds.
fifth
So.
round. Yeah. If Yuri by submission in the fifth round, I want to say, I think you could find this with an easy Google search, but I want to say I'm being accurate. 2,600.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Submission in the fifth round. Very specific. Submission in the fifth round. But I believe it was the latest stoppage ever in a title fight, if I'm
Oh
correct,
wow. Jeez.
from Yuri. And it just didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen. But not to go too far off topic, how would you feel about that fight? You've seen Izzy fight. I think it's hit and miss.
Well, I think it makes sense though, because I mean, there's not much competition left for Adesanya in the where he's at now, and I feel like he might still have something to prove in the light heavyweight division after losing the last fight. And I mean, the light heavyweight division has just been kind of a mess ever since John Jones left. So I mean, they haven't really had a dominant champion since. So it'll be interesting to see
he's
what
got a
happens
big
going
fight.
forward.
He's got a really big fight coming up against an ex-heavyweight, right? Jared Cannonier
Yeah.
is an ex-heavyweight that's moved his way all the way down into middleweight. So we'll see. Jan Blachowicz just wrestled him, really, in that fight because he was so much bigger. And I even look at Izzy, and I'm just like, I just don't see you ever making that weight. Like, you're a great fighter. I'm not taking away from that. You were one of the best we've ever seen strategically and physically. But you're just too skinny
Yeah.
to keep moving up in that weight. I don't want to leave this subject without talking about Jeff Molina, because we missed him last week's episode, right? And I think he did an amazing thing, and to the point where even Taylor was hearing about him on his video that went viral. And Taylor, how did his statement make you feel when he came out in that press conference and said, "What the bleep are we still doing talking about this? Like,
I
why is this still an issue in 2022?"
I couldn't agree more. It's not only like why is it still an issue in 2022 that we make like we're making a statement about our affiliations or support of people. I love that, but why is it a problem for other people to show your support for other things? Like I don't walk around telling people that I think their team is stupid when I see them wearing a baseball hat.
Oh,
That's
I do
rude. Why would
that.
you? Okay. Well, you're probably trying to start a conversation of some sort. I'm not just like gonna go around telling people shit to be rude. Why would you do the same thing, especially in the public eye? Like,
Yeah, for
it's
those who might
frustrating.
not know, we because I don't think we touched on this at the beginning. So Jeff Molina wore pride shorts, and he got a whole bunch of backlash on social media. People calling him all sorts of names, and then in the press conference, he said, "Why the hell are we still talking about this? It's 2022."
It's
Yeah,
not.
and he said he said he's not an advocate, but one of the main reasons he put on the shorts was the shorts are dope, bro.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like I own so much Pride merchandise because I'm like, yo, I do support the cause, but also this shit is really cool looking. And I'm sorry, like they put out really dope merchandise. Go ahead, Taylor. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say that it bothers me because it's not even relevant to like his skills as a fighter. Like, why does it matter what he's wearing? Whether it's in support of something or not in support of something. Like, I'm super proud and grateful to see people wearing these shorts, repping these shorts, showing their support for the LGBTQ plus community. I think that's amazing. But I don't think that's the point. Like, it should just be about their fighting. Why are we making it about their clothing choices and
Mhm.
their support for things? Again, like as a human being, you wouldn't go out into the real world and just start bashing people for repping their teams or clothing lines that they like or brands that they love. You would never go out and do that in public. So why do you feel the comfort to do it online?
Yeah, it's you know what I think, Taylor. Every time I see it,
What?
I think, yeehaw! Here come the keyboard cowboys. They're ready to go. They're like, let me talk some smack to somebody that could easily whoop my ass if I ever said it to his face.
If somebody wants to be supportive of other people, of other cultures, other teams, it's none of your business to say anything, and you wouldn't say it to that person in front of their face. Especially a
Oh no.
UFC fighter, you would get knocked out
Yeah.
if you said that to his face. So, like, who do you think you are saying it online?
It's just these keyboard
And it was
cowboys
vicious.
who were probably
Keyboard
bullied all their
cowboys.
life.
And it just
Uh,
it overshadows
or they were the bully.
Yeah.
and it
Looking
overshadows
for more people to bully.
the actual reason he's at this press conference, which is to talk about a fight and his
Yeah.
skills as a fighter. You're total like we're detracting. I think that the interviewer was wrong in even bringing it up. Like we should not be talking about it. It should just be about his skills, his fight. You know, from there, even mentioning it, you're just like trying to get a story.
So you're one of those people though that's like if you acknowledge it, they'll keep doing it because all they're seeking is their 15 minutes of fame. They're just trying to get famous with their stupid comments. And if you acknowledge it, then it validates them in some way.
Yeah, I mean, in one regard, I'm glad he got to voice his opinion and be like, "This is stupid," and the fact that you guys care about this is stupid. I'm allowed to care about the things I care about and advocate for the things I want to advocate for, or even just like the things that I want to like.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous to me.
I'll never understand these fights. I'll never understand these fights, and here's why. Most people just want to be happy in their life. I believe this. Like, regardless of what their beliefs are, I believe that most people they just want to be happy in your life. So why are you against happiness?
Some people
Like,
just get
why would?
happy by tearing others down.
That's what
But
I
do
was
they?
thinking.
Or
Yeah, because
you,
some people want to be happy but are so miserable in their own situation and dealing with their own lives that it just
Bingo.
seeing that other people are as miserable as them brings them comfort.
Yeah, I guess when you're sitting in your mom's basement still at 38 years old eating Cheetos off your big old belly button, that I can see how it's like sending this tweet's gonna validate my shitty existence. Get the
Yeah.
hell out of here. Yeah, I'm with you though. I agree, but it's just stupid. Like, just let people be happy at this point. It doesn't affect you at all. Whenever I get asked about a situation, I'm just like, I don't know that impacts me, but like, I'd like to see everybody just have a good time and be happy because I feel like high tide floats all boats. So I don't see what the issue with happiness is.
And while that is the most important thing here, in the context of this is an athlete, maybe we should be focused on his athletic prowess and ability instead
Absolutely.
of
So
everything else.
yeah, and I'm with that. And in focusing on smooth transition here, everybody. Focusing on people's athletic abilities. Rory, your boy Rory West,
Rory
came out.
McIlroy.
He came out and laid down the hammer in an interview on what is it, Before the Players? Is that what we got coming up?
The US Open. US Open.
Yeah, and he lays down the hammer on Live Golf Tournament. What'd you think of that?
I'm glad. So, I mean, I'm
So
not
really
a
quick,
big
Wes,
fan.
would you mind explaining what
Oh, yeah.
Live Golf Tournament is for me?
Sure. So, Live Golf Tournament is it's a golf league funded by the Saudis' PIF fund, which is like $600 billion in image makeover for the Saudis. So they have like unlimited money. Basically, they were offering Tiger
Sports
Woods.
watching.
Yeah, they were offering Tiger Woods like hundreds of millions of dollars to play, and he just told them to
So,
screw off.
would this
Basically.
league then be run still in America, or is it a league elsewhere?
So it's global. It's global. And so basically, they have they took a Hall of Fame golfer, Greg Norman, to kind of be like the face of the league. And typically, the way the normal golf tournaments work is the PGA Tour pays them based on how you finish. So if you finish really bad and you don't make the cut, so there's like 4 rounds usually in a golf tournament: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. After Friday, like the bottom half, they're cut. They don't play the rest, and usually they don't make any money or much money, if any. But the way that the Live Golf is doing it is they're paying them a salary, and so a lot of these players are switching. And the PGA Tour said if you're going to play on the Live Tour, since it's a competitor, you're essentially going to be suspended from playing on the PGA Tour. And so a lot of these players, like Dustin Johnson, who's won a couple major tournaments, he switched over. I think
Talk about somebody that looks like they're on cocaine.
Right. He's also Wayne Gretzky's. He's married to Wayne Gretzky's daughter. But he took, I think it was like 300 million or something like that to play for
Paulina, right?
The Saudis. Yeah, he's married to Paulina. And then it's funny because Patrick Reed, who was called Captain America a couple of years ago, because in the U.S. versus Europe tournament, he was all USA all the time, and he came in so clutch. So he decided to go with them. Bryson DeChambeau, who a couple weeks ago said that he couldn't risk moving on from the PGA Tour at this point in his career, he ended up taking like 150 million to go play for them. And it's funny because Rory.
We're gonna dig into this because I find Bryson pretty pathetic lately.
Yeah.
Taylor, you look like you had a question really quick. What were you gonna ask him, Taylor?
I'm just thinking about the whole logistics of this, and I found it interesting that you were saying the PGA is the one who would prevent the players from doing any cross promotion or like cross playing, especially because when you first said it, I was like, okay, I've worked at companies where it's like, oh, if you work at this shoe store, like you can't work at any other shoe stores because it's a conflict of interest when you agree to work there. Like you can't work at a store that does like the same thing. I've worked for companies that are kind of like that. So that made sense to me. The part that I was confused about, that I was trying to figure out, is the Live Golf tournament, the whatever tournament company. I don't know what it. I don't know what it is.
LIV,
LIV. So they're the ones who are ultimately going to be paying their players a salary, which would mean that they're technically full-time employees of this company, whereas the PGA is basically like freelancing.
Yeah, they're like independent contractors or something like that.
Yeah, they're like independent, like freelance kind of contracted people. So it's interesting to me that the people who hire the freelance ones think that they have the ability to tell these people you can't go work for anybody else when the other company is the one
Well,
paying
they're
them.
just saying we're not going to let you because it's an invite into the tournament, and so they're just saying we're not going to invite you
Mhm.
to the tournaments anymore.
Yeah, but that's just
Um,
interesting because if you're going to have really good players go to this company, you'd still want them to be on your tournament because people want to watch them play.
yeah. Well, here's the thing.
It's
It's
also kind
interesting.
of
So
gross when
Dustin
you look into it.
Johnson was sponsored by RBC, which is like Royal Bank of Canada, and so he's been sponsored by them for years. And they host a tournament called the Canadian Open, which was on at the same time as the Live Golf Tournament, the first one. And Dustin Johnson basically abandoned his sponsor to go play on this one, and they were like, "Screw you, then. See you later." And they dropped him. And so, yeah, it just creates like a lot of conflicts of interest, and also the Live Golf Tournament doesn't have to turn a profit because they have $600 billion in extra funds that they can just like do whatever with. So they
Iron-
can just pay
well,
all these players as
ironically,
much as they want. And so it's
it's called Live, Wes.
yeah,
And like you grazed over this, but they're using it for sports washing. And I say ironically it's called Live is because they're using this to cover up that they murder women, they murder journalists,
yeah,
to the extent of cutting heads off in the street, like in a public display, a public execution.
oh yeah,
And these players are going over there and they're taking this money, and I get it, man, I get it, but in a roundabout way, you, whether you like it or not, by taking this money, you're saying I support this,
yeah. I
and
mean,
that's bad.
it's funny because like some of the players are kind of like trying to like deny that, and then I think it was Bryson DeChambeau. He said it was a business decision. He's like, yeah, they're paying me 100 million. Of course, I'm going to take it.
I was
Like
gonna
that's more
say,
money
I
than I
feel
made from the
like,
PGA Tour.
I mean,
How much does it cost to buy your morals, right? Go ahead,
Yeah.
Taylor.
so
Well,
obviously,
I mean, the U.S. said they're moving on from Jamal Khashoggi, so
What were you saying, Taylor?
that's disgusting. That's part of this. The other side that I was thinking is like, is this going to possibly be the death of the PGA? Because ultimately, money is what talks. People will skirt around their morality all that they have to if
well,
there's enough money involved. And ultimately, like, if Live is going to pay the players more money on a salary, plus they're going to have the chance for purses, I'm guessing, if they actually win
yeah,
certain
yeah, they still have
tournaments.
purses.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, that sounds like making more money than working for a company that's contracting you per match, and maybe you win a purse if you're good enough.
Yeah,
So players,
that's
like in a business decision, again, I don't know everything that's happening with this, all the logistics and things like that, but from what I'm told from you guys, it sounds like it business savvy wise, it'd make more sense to play for Live if you're in it for the money. It's more
yeah.
guaranteed
Really
money.
quick, Wes. I know you're gonna answer her what she's saying, but one of the golfers came out already, and you know the one I'm talking about, and said, "Dude, I got gambling debts. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Phil Mickelson.
I, I got gambling debts, baby. I got to pay this off." And I'm just like, again, like, how much is your soul worth, though? How much is your soul worth? And I'm not saying they're all bad people. It's not what I'm saying. Please do not take it this way. But the sponsors, the actual sponsors of that tournament, I mean, they've done some pretty. I'm not saying we haven't, but I mean, it's in 2022, sawing somebody's head off in a street. That's, come on.
I mean, can we
Yeah.
just go back to 9/11?
Yeah, again, I'm
No.
just curious how this will ultimately affect the PGA and what they're doing to try to combat this other than telling players that they can't do both. I think doing both would be a great way to save their asses because if the players can go make a salary but then also play in the tournaments for the PGA, like why wouldn't they? It's just again more money for them. It's not like you'd be losing your
Yeah,
players by enabling them to go to this other thing, I don't feel.
But it's a bad look for the sponsors, Taylor. I think that's what Wes was going to get to with the Canadian Open. Is it's the sponsors don't want to be associated with this tournament because this tournament doesn't even have a television partner, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. They live streamed on YouTube. That was their broadcast. But I mean, that's also definitely like a worry I think among the PGA Tour is that it could take away some of their best players and hurt ratings and stuff like that, and cascade from there. Um, but yeah, it's I mean, it's definitely and So the thing is, it's going up against these other tournaments that the PGA Tour is hosting, and the Live Golf Tour specifically placed their tournaments on days of or on weekends where the PGA Tour has like some of their smaller tournaments that doesn't get the bigger names and stuff like that, to specifically kind of take ratings away from those smaller tournaments.
Got it.
They just had their first tournament, correct?
Yeah, they just had their first tournament. It was in London, and then they're actually doing a tournament in I think the weekend or the weekend before 4th of July, actually down here in Oregon. So
Yeah, I saw that. Are you gonna go?
I don't know. I don't know. So I watched their live stream on YouTube for like 15, 20 minutes, and honestly, it didn't really impress me. Their production values were probably lower than ours.
Thank you. Uh, well, I don't want to continue on this, but I'm going to say I don't want to leave the audience hanging on the Bryson DeChambeau thing. Here's what I'm going to say. His name just needs to end at Bryson DeCham, because he's a sham. He's a sham. He's not what he promised. He sold a bill of goods that he can't come through on. He thought he was going to change the game by driving the ball 8 billion yards. Cool, awesome. You're a sideshow freak that can't win anything. And he's taking this money because he realized he can't cut it on the PGA. That's my opinion on Bryson DeChambeau.
I mean, I will say he did win the U.S. Open when he came back driving it, just bombing it. And it worked out for him that one time, but that's about the only time. But
it's weird that you said that one time.
That one time. But yeah, overall, I definitely agree with Rory. And I mean, Rory has shot up to like the top of my favorite players now. So good on you, Rory.
Yeah, mine too. And what was Rory's quote?
Well, now that you're in England, you need to go see him next time he plays over there.
I do, but I don't want to leave Rory hanging. Do you want to give him his exact quote? What was his exact quote?
Let's see. I don't remember.
They were taking the easy way out.
Yeah, they took the easy way out.
Yeah,
completely agree with
chest. Yeah, he said it with his chest. He's like, "Come through me, boys. Come through me." And just ending today on a positive note. Speaking of come through me, boys, come through me. They did go through our favorite racehorse, the winner of the Kentucky Derby, the zombie horse, Rich Strike. There it is. There it is. That should be his logo. And on the side of his horse trailer, it's just be like. And Taylor, do you want to fill the audience in on why we've nicknamed him the zombie horse?
So, for those of you who did not see the Kentucky Derby, the horse who ultimately won, Rich Strike, coming from behind, a massive upset,
way behind,
won the Kentucky Derby, and after winning, proceeded to zombie-style attack one of the other horses on the track, and I believe his trainer or the trainer on the other horse began to nip at the person and the other horse.
Yeah, he bit his leg.
Give me a piece of that.
He bit the guy's leg.
Are there pictures of like the damage from this guy? Is that in the news anywhere? I want to know what this fight looks like.
I don't think so, but I know there's definitely like photos from like mid-action, like.
With horse racing not really being a big thing anymore, and really the only thing that brings horse racing to the forefront of everybody's sight is the Triple Crown. And I mean, in today's world, it's so competitive. It's near impossible, right? Having a story like this is really heartwarming. Having a horse, I believe, Wes, you said he was a zombie from the very beginning. He came back from the dead in the middle of the race. Like Taylor said, he was losing the entire race.
And then out of nowhere.
Right, Wes?
Yeah, out of nowhere. Like the announcers didn't even know. They're like, who's this guy coming up on the side? It's Rich Strike!
It's just, it's like that.
We have no idea who this horse is. It's a horse.
It's just like that sore winner, like hopped up on steroids, kind of adrenaline energy, where it's like, I fucking won! I have all this energy, I don't know what to do.
I mean, that is a big cocaine nostril on that horse. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know, bath salts. I think bath salts is what the MMA fighters were on when they were eating each other's faces. So maybe that horse was on bath salts and just like, you know what is it, Talladega Nights, I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew, baby, here I come.
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey, chick.
And he did. And he did. He went right at the other horses, right at him, and said, "You know what? I got your ass. I got your ass. I got you." And he's like, "And I'm going to bite you too. And you ain't going to do shit about it because I'm a horse."
I thought they said after he ran that race that he wouldn't be running in the other races.
He didn't run in the second race, but he ran just so he
Oh.
could rest up for the third.
See, I feel like
Mhm.
that's kind of pointless though, because the whole point of like horse race season is the Triple Crown, and as soon as the whole idea of a horse winning the Triple Crown gets like kiboshed, I feel like people's interest in it kind of wanes that much more.
Yeah, but honestly, I tuned in to see if he was going to eat another horse. I just wanted to see if he was going to eat. And there it is.
There it is.
Thank you, Wes, for showing us this.
Solid bite right there.
As he was trying. He was trying to eat him. And on that note of that beautiful horse, that beautiful zombie, to quote the Cranberries. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you to my team, Wes. Thank you to Taylor as well. We're going to be able to get contacted at the SadFan on Twitter, and you can find us on our YouTube channel, the SadFan Podcast. Taylor, where can they find you?
I am at It's Taylor Stone on all the things. Find me.
I love it. And Wes responds to literally every comment on our YouTube video. I
Just like
promise
he
he will
does our
respond to you.
Discord.
I don't like social media.
They're stalking him.
I don't like the government. They're watching.
Don't get into a dust up like Jack Del Rio. All right, everybody. Thank you
Thanks,
so
everyone.
much. And thank you for listening.